Come on. Do I sound like I'm joking? Do I sound like I'm playing? When you look into my eyes, you understand what I'm saying? Let me say it to you slowly, and it may sound scandalous. I don't think that you can handle this.
Once again, we are on. Welcome to week number 18 of the NFL, the final week of the regular season. I am the TheMoJoKing. He is the great Donnie Oooh, and we are Hidden Gems Football, brought to you by the mighty 19 Media Group. How are you today, Mr. Oooh?
All things considered, I'm doing pretty good. How are you? Matter of fact, how are you this year, Mo? Happy New Year, guys!
Oh, true. Happy New Year. I have to admit, I'm a little bit tired. The PGA season has started again, coming up this week. So now I'm doubling up on my weekly podcast with Hidden Gems Golf. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work.
A lot of work being the Hidden Gems czar.
Donnie, remember you said that when you listen to the Hidden Gems Golf podcast that's coming out. Just remember you said that. All right. Before we get into the meat of the show, let me point out a couple of things. First, Hidden Gems Football will be running throughout the playoffs. Obviously, Survivor will be over. Hopefully, I will collect my money. But our predictions will still be made. Donnie will still have his hot takes. We'll be previewing each game on each round of the playoffs. We appreciate your support and continue to support us through the playoffs. We thrive, we strive because of you. So thank you. All right, Donnie, some playoff spots are still to be decided, and we're going to walk through some of those today. But first, we'll start off with your mind. What's in there? Donnie, what's the one subject you have going on in your head this week?
I'm dealing with what some wrestling fans call the Wrestle Kingdom hangover. Because I stayed up until 7 o'clock this morning watching pretty much Japan's version of WrestleMania, Wrestle Kingdom 17. But for more info on that, check out our fellow 19 Media Group people, GI, because I'm quite sure they're going to have a whole bunch to say about their experience, especially Mr. Winchester. But my one big thing is actually two teams. One that I've mentioned in the past on here on Hidden Gems Football, the New York Football Giants, the G-Men. They actually clinched their first playoff berth in 6 years behind my candidate for Coach of the Year, Coach Brian Daboll, and the resurgence season of Saquon Barkley, and a surprisingly efficient season by Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. The New York Football Giants, like I said, reached the postseason for the first time in 6 years. Saquon Barkley bounced back from injury-riddled seasons the past 2 seasons to just have an outstanding season. He rushed for over 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns, while also adding in 57 catches out of the backfield. He was pretty much the offense, but not all the offense. He had a big helping hand from Danny Dimes himself. Danny Dimes in his 4th year broke out huge. These are these stats, and like I said, I'm usually a vibe guy, but over the last couple weeks, I figured, you know what? Let me tighten that up. So I'm a vibe/stat guy. Daniel Jones threw for 3,200 yards passing, 15 passing touchdowns to only 5 interceptions. But on top of that, you know, Daniel Jones was the team's second leading rusher with over 700 yards rushing and an additional seven touchdowns on the ground. And he did this with such nondescript players on his offensive roster, such as, you know, Mr. Red Dread himself, Richie James, Mr. Slippery Hand, Darius Slayton, and a budding tight end who has been very gutsy, very brave. I believe he returned a couple weeks ago from a broken orbital bone, Mr. Bellinger. These were his go-to players, sans Saquon Barkley, in pivotal times this year. Defensively, Wink Martindale got them playing aggressive, got them playing an aggressive style that complemented the way Daboll liked to play. Hard-nosed, blue-collar, and almost like a flashback to the years of glory back in the 80s of the years of LT and Joe Morris, or the 90s with Phil Simms and O.J. Anderson, or dare I say, the last iteration of great Giant teams with Eli Manning and Brandon Jacobs and them boys. I've given a lot of Giant slander throughout the years, even so much so that my brother Cool considered me a Giant hater. And it wasn't that. It was just the fact that there was a clown show for the last 5 years between McAdoo and Joe Judge and Schumer, and even the later years of Coughlin. Like, they were pretty much on par with my New York JT or Jets. On the defensive side, rookie Kayvon Thibodeau, after a slow start, he's really picked it up late in the season. I believe he has a total of 4.5, 5 sacks, but he has been a disruptive force in the last month during this playoff run, during this playoff stretch. Because remember, at one time, the Giants were 7-2. They had a little low, and there was some type of debate like, are the wheels falling off? Are they not going to be able to really, get themselves together to get into the playoffs? But due to their defense also with Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence, they were able to hold down the fort, and through an emphatic 38-10 victory against the pathetic Indianapolis Colts, it almost was a flashback to years yonder. So you and I have no more slander, because y'all did something that your neighbors in MetLife Stadium didn't do. Y'all actually got the job done. So salute to the Giants Nation, salute to Big Blue, salute to the Dreamin'. Now, because I'm kind of duplicitous, word to Tyler, I like to shift my focus over to the AFC. The Pittsburgh Steelers, to me, are actually encompasses the saying that I joke about Geno Smith. They wrote me off. I didn't choose to write back. I'm not going to lie. Midway through the season, I had totally written the Pittsburgh Steelers off. Like, they were struggling on offense. They didn't have any identity. They didn't have a quarterback. They started with Mitch Trubisky. Then they went over to Kenny Pickett. And I started feeling bad for Tomlin. Like, yo, this might be the first year Tomlin actually has a losing season. But guess what? Once again, Mike Tomlin proved his greatness by willing this current version to the doorstep. And dare I say, I believe they're pretty much almost guaranteed to get into the postseason. Since their bye week, and this is when the stats come in, because this is not Hidden Gems football for nothing. Like I said, new year, new focus. Check out my pod later. Since the bye week in early November, the Steelers have a record of 6-2. The 2 games they lost by a combined 9 points. And those games were actually against playoff teams, Cincinnati and Baltimore. With the season finale coming against Cleveland, I believe they have a better than average chance of winning that game and finishing above 500 to guarantee that Mike Tomlin will never have a losing record on his resume. But this is another stat that's very interesting. Because I actually pulled out the calculator. I did it myself. I wasn't dependent on next gen stats. I was dependent on next Donnie stats. Do you know that during this 8-game streak, they're only averaging 17.5 points a game? Matter of fact, all these 8 games have been one possession games, except for their victory against the Saints, in which they won by 10. Kenny Pickett, while not putting up spectacular numbers, has proven that maybe they have actually found their potential franchise quarterback. And as a Jets fan, trust me, I know, once you have stability in the most important position on the team, which would be the quarterback position, everything else kind of flutters in. So salute to the Steel Curtain. Salute to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And matter of fact, I'm going to give a little shout out to the homie Math for the BRP. Steelers fan. Yeah, that's my one. But two big things.
Yo, what's up? I'm Desmond, and I'm the host of Hip to the Games, a podcast from 19 Media Group, where the brilliance of basketball and hip-hop's past and present is genuinely appreciated. Join me every other Friday as we celebrate some of the greatest artists, albums, moments, songs, bars, punchlines, NBA teams, players, just anything and everything to do with the game of rap and the game of basketball. See, if you like basketball and hip-hop, that means you're hip to the games. But no matter where you fall on that spectrum, I encourage you to join the fun every other Friday on your favorite podcast platform, courtesy of the great 19 Media Group.
Island of relevancy, baby. Yeah. These two teams are it.
All right, circling back to the Giants for real quick. I have a quick question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's any chance they make any waves in the playoffs this year?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be a very petty person today. On Hidden Gems concerning any other team that potentially is in the playoffs. Yeah, I believe because right now as it stands, they're probably going to match up against the Minnesota Vikings. And based on the game that they had a couple weeks ago, which Minnesota won by the skin of their teeth, and based on the fact that I believe that even though I tried to hold off on thinking that, Minnesota is a total fraud of a team. Yeah, I believe that the Giants will smack Minnesota in Minnesota and at least get to the divisional round. So, yeah, I believe they do have a chance to make a run.
All right. Let's move on to part 2. There's no Thursday games this week, which is usually what we'll talk about. So we're going to just skip ahead and talk about Survivor real quick. As far as by leagues go, last week there was only one real upset. That was Philadelphia's loss to New Orleans. Gardner Minshew did not come through. That game eliminated about 6.5% in one league and 7.5% in the other. It's still too many entries alive in my Survivor leagues to feel like I'm going to get a big payday. But if I can make it through one more week, I will have some cash coming my way. Now, let's talk about the big spreads for the week. You let me know if you have any takes on these 3 games. You ready, Donnie?
Gotcha.
All right. The Kansas City Chiefs are 8-point favorites. They're going to Las Vegas to face the Raiders. The total over-under is 52.5 there. The New York Giants are going to Philadelphia to play the Eagles. The Eagles are 14.5-point favorites against those G-men that you love. The total there is expected to be 43.5 points. And finally, the Arizona Cardinals are going to face the San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco. The 49ers are 14-point favorites. The total there is 40.5. Any of those games strike you as something you'd want to bet on?
That 49er Cardinal spread, I would probably stay away from. The one that does bother me, because I just tooted their horn so much, is the Dreamin' and the Eagles, 14.5. Like, I understand the premise behind it, as if, well, the Giants have nothing to play for. They're pretty much locked in their seeding, and being the fact that I just kind of said that they only have limited weapons, i.e. Saquon and Daniel Jones, you would think that they will probably want to keep them in bubble wrap for the first round of the playoffs. And the Eagles actually need to go all out to maintain their number 1 seed. That one's still too tough to call. So I guess I would narrow my focus on the Chiefs and the Raiders, because even though while the Raiders have nothing to play for, the Chiefs keep on proving me right, as in they just do not really blow teams out. Not to pat myself on the back, but I told you Denver was going to keep that game close. They actually had almost another resurgent of they let Russ cook. And even though the Denver has a much better defense than the Raiders, it still proved to me that no matter if the Chiefs are 13-3, the Chiefs are vulnerable. Like, is Pat Mahomes It's Pat Mahomes and Kelsey, and that's it. So that game, I think I would be leaning to Raiders against the spread.
Interesting. Well, yeah, I don't think I would touch the San Francisco game. So that Giant game looks interesting. The only thing is that I heard a rumor that the Giants may just sit all their starters from the beginning. It's kind of interesting because we still don't know who's going to be the quarterback for Philadelphia. So the fact that that spread is so big when we don't know who's going to start for either team potentially seems kind of insane to me. So I might just bet it just on the hopes that who plays, who doesn't play works out to my advantage because that spread is very large. I'm going to abstain from the Kansas City game. I don't trust the Raiders at all. Actually, this is the one thing I am going to do. I am probably going to bet the under there. Because although the Raiders went off last week against a very good defense, they have to prove to me that they can do it again. I don't think they can. And as you pointed out, Kansas City isn't the juggernauts they used to be. They just find ways to win. So I think I'm going to take the under there and ride my chances there. I kind of like that one. Let's move along. All right, we have another Saturday game. The 7-9 Tennessee Titans are going to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. The Jaguars are 8-8. The Jaguars are 6.5-point favorites. This game is for the AFC South Division title. Yeah, well, the total is supposed to be only 40.5 points. Very low scoring game. That would mean, according to Vegas, that Tennessee will score 17. The Jaguars will score 23.5. Real quick, as far as injuries, obviously Tannehill's out. Josh Dobbs has been declared the starter for Tennessee. They also will likely be without their starting center as Ben Jones. Well, they definitely will be out. He definitely will be out as he's hit the IR because of a concussion. Donnie, do you have any take on this game?
Jacksonville. I just think Tennessee went down the drain far too much to even attempt to try to, salvage their playoff hopes. And for the selfish part of me, if Tennessee won, do I really want to see them in the playoffs? I mean, because I really, at this point in time, I really have no personal root and interest when it comes to the playoffs. We'll get into that later. But so I'm looking for entertainment. And at least there's a kind of a storyline of this young upstart Jacksonville Jaguar team with second-year quarterback Trevor Lawrence, who ended up being way better than Zach Wilson. Doug Peterson, rising from the ashes of Philadelphia, rising forward. Like there's more of a storyline with Jacksonville getting to the playoffs than Tennessee just scratching in. So yeah, Jacksonville.
With the 6.5 points?
Yeah. Because I look, I'm not sure. I know Derrick Henry. I don't even remember if Derrick Henry played last week.
He didn't play last week. He's going to play this week.
Yeah, but he's still hobbled. And he pretty much that's their offense, and I still don't believe that he's going to be healthy enough to really get them over the hump. Like Jacksonville, for as much as I might personally not care for them, they do have weapons, and I just think it's too close for them to let go now. So Jacksonville, yeah, I could see them. I could see them covering the spread. Pretty much, I could see them winning by a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, first of all, about Derrick Henry, part of the reason I didn't mention him on the injury list was because Tennessee seemed pretty sure that he could have played last week if the game mattered. The game just didn't count, so they didn't worry about it. So I think he will be back healthy. I think he has 3 consecutive 100-yard games. So he's been playing pretty well. It hasn't helped them win. Tennessee has lost 7 straight games. Meanwhile, Jacksonville has won 4 straight, including defeating Tennessee in Tennessee on week 14, 36-22. That was with Tannehill playing. Also, and I hate to kick you when you're down, Donnie, Jacksonville's defense has only given up 6 points in the last 2 weeks. That was against the Jets and the Texans. All that combines, to me, all the momentum swings the Jaguars' way. It's hard for me to see how the Titans get out of this tailspin, especially without Tannehill. I think Jacksonville is going to run away with this game. I think they're going to win by more than 10.
You know, you keep on throwing shots. You're going to be like this redhead guy right here. Sammy is not like the others. He'll be kicked out of the island, even though this is our island, so I can't really kick you out of my island. But you know what? I got to take it. I got to take it. You know, just put me in a vulnerable position. I just got to take all the slander, all the darts. Yeah. I agree, though. I agree.
All right. Well, speaking of people getting kicked out, the New York Jets are not in the playoffs, but they are 1-point favorites going to Miami to face the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins need this win. The total is supposed to be 38.5. That's another low-scoring game. The Jets, according to Vegas, will score 19.75 to the Dolphins 18.75. Interesting question here with the Dolphins at quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater dislocated his pinky finger on his throwing hand last week. He is questionable to start. If he doesn't, Skylar Thompson will get the start instead. I think Skylar's been taking the number 1 reps so far this week. Donnie, are the Jets going to make you proud this week?
Even if they win, they can't make me proud this week. Because there's no more expectations. Out of all these last 5 victories, all they had to do was win. One. And they couldn't even win once. So, of course, they would win the last game of the season. But besides all that, the Dolphins, like you said, Tua is not playing. Teddy's probably not going to play. And the last time these two teams met, with Skylar Thompson is his name. Last time these two teams met, the Jets beat the Dolphins 40-17. Albeit it was early in the season, but same situation. Teddy got knocked out, I believe, the first play of the game. I don't consider this playing the spoiler. I just consider I believe they're just going to be a better team than Miami. Just based on the quarterback position. Like if Teddy was able to play and Tua was able to play, then I would say the Jets would probably fold up and have their tail between their legs. But with Skylar Thompson, even though he did show promise against New England, and he did lead them back to close the gap in later minutes. I swear, I never thought I'd be upset saying the Jets are going to win, but yeah, I believe the Jets are going to win. Just enough to turn freaking knife inside. One game, one.
Yeah. Both of these teams have looked kind of pitiful lately. Both of them have lost 5 straight games. But what's interesting about it is that when I look back on it, all of their losses, all 10 of them, have been teams that at least still have a shot at the playoffs coming into this week. So although they've been losing to teams that maybe they should lose to. The 1-point spread doesn't surprise me. This game looks like a toss-up to me. I think you have a very good point. If Teddy Bridgewater doesn't start, I think the Jets have to have the advantage. Mike White's going to do it again. If Teddy starts, I don't know. It's going to be kind of interesting. I really have no idea. So that's going to be my only thing. I will bet for the Jets if Skylar starts. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave this game completely alone. The Cleveland Browns are going to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. The Steelers still have a shot at the playoffs. The Browns are 7-9. The Steelers are 8-8. The Steelers are 3-point favorites. The total here is 40.5 points. That means Vegas thinks that it will be 18.75 points for the Browns, while Pittsburgh is at 21.75. What is your take on this one, Donnie?
I just see, well, even though I'm not going to go against what I just said about the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I believe that Pittsburgh smells blood in the water, and they will not be denied, and they darn sure will not, he who shall not be named, prevent them from getting into the postseason. So, I mean, it's never going to be a shootout with Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh, like I said, Pittsburgh they can smell it. They can smell it. So Pittsburgh for the win. I'm not even talking about the spread. But even, Pittsburgh for the win, money line. I'm not going to go on the spread.
Yeah, Pittsburgh seems like they're going to play close every week. The ineptitude of the quarterback position in Cleveland has been amazing. I think the Browns missed Brissett at this point. I don't expect it to get any better this week against the Steelers defense. So I'm with you. I think the Steelers will win this game. I want to go give them 3 points and go with, take Pittsburgh anyway, but they always play teams close. And although I say I think the Steelers are going to win, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if Cleveland kicks a late field goal and gets this win, because the game's going to be close regardless, because the Steelers can't blow anybody out.
I believe what's happening to Cleveland, especially in that particular position, the quarterback position, is what we call karma. I really do. And they got what they asked for. They got what they paid for. And they're getting what they deserve. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
All right. Next game, we have the 12-4 Dallas Cowboys. They're still searching for that number 1 seed. They're going to Washington to face the 7-8-1 Commanders. Dallas is 6-point favorites. The total here is 41.5 points. Washington has an interesting quarterback situation. They've decided to sit Wentz and instead are rotating Tyler Heineke and rookie 5th rounder Sam Howell. What's your take on this game, Donnie?
Everybody that's been watching Hidden Gems football, probably since its inception, hopefully, but especially the last couple of weeks, know my feelings on the Dallas Cowboys, and they know my feelings on Dak Prescott. Dallas barely covered the spread. Matter of fact, they exactly covered the spread last week on that Thursday night game, that meaningless Thursday night game against the Titans.
Yeah.
Washington, even though they had a playoff spot in their grasp, and they've kind of let it slip away to the point that their own head coach didn't even know about their playoff positioning last week. The reporter had to if Green Bay wins, y'all eliminated. Oh, really? I didn't know that was possible this week. So that to me is kind of a toss-up. Like, dude, you didn't even know whether or not you possibly could be eliminated. Like, maybe if you thought you was going to be eliminated, maybe you would have yanked Carson Wentz early. Or maybe perhaps you wouldn't have played Carson Wentz at all. You would have just continued with Heineken. But this is the time for Donnie's pick of the week. Washington, money line. If I'm going to put money down this week, and for various reasons, I'm probably not. Once again, I don't trust Dallas, and Dak will try to throw the game away.
I definitely see where you're going. I definitely think I agree with you as far as Dak always being willing to throw a game away with the ton of turnovers and turnover-worthy plays. I just don't think Washington is good with this rotating quarterback thing. I don't think it's going to work out very well for them. I think they're asking to get their butts handed to them, and I think Dallas is going to do it for them. So I think Dallas is going to win this handily. And if they don't, Dallas, I think they're in trouble anyway, but they're in serious trouble as far as the playoffs go. Okay, Donnie. We have 2 more games to talk about. I'm going to get to the one that will have very big playoff implications first, and then we'll save the last. You'll know why the other one's last in a second.
Okay.
All right. So the Sunday night game is the Green Bay Packers going to face the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions going to face the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. Green Bay is a 4.5-point favorite. The over-under is 49.5 points. It's interesting that they made this the Sunday night game, Clearly, it's a game that everybody would want to see because the streaking Lions and the streaking Packers now. But what's weird about it is that there's a strong possibility that Detroit will be out of the playoffs before this game starts since they shifted it to a different time. I find that a little bit odd. By the way, Donnie, what do you think about this game?
It's amazing to me. And I think Aaron Rodgers, he actually mentioned it. He during one, I don't know if it was the press conference or the little segment that he has with on the Pat McAfee show, that there was a stretch of 4 games when they were 4-8. No, I think when they was about 4-8. Well, before they were 4-8, I'm sorry, to get them to 4-8. And he said something to the effect of, in his mind, he was like, all right, if we can get one of these next 3 to 4 games, I can see us running the table afterward. And he said he never said it vocally, because why would he say that? Like, he's looking at these 3 games coming up, like, if we could just get one of these, we'll worry about the rest. And it ended up coming to fruition. There was a time, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. I think it was a Sunday night game that Jordan Love ended up playing because I think Aaron Rodgers got hurt. I think that was their last loss. And there was talk of, well, maybe they need to start the transition now. They're out the playoffs. They have no chance. I think at the time they had maybe like a 4% chance of making the playoffs. A lot of things have changed. Their defense has become stout. Their offense has become opportunistic. And I'm not going to lie, I'm going to steal a take from what I heard earlier from Keyshawn Johnson, that what's really been impressive and what's really helped Green Bay during the stretch is a lot of hidden yardage, because they've gotten a lot of good punt returns. They've got a lot of good kickoff returns to pretty much shorten the field. For some reason or another, their tendency to commit penalties have decreased dramatically. So that also helps them shrink the field. And you're only really asking, and this is my opinion now, you're only really asking Aaron Rodgers to do similarly to what Tom Brady has done the last couple of weeks of just keep us close, put us over the hump at the end. They've leaned on their running game. They've taken the pressure off of A-Rod's shoulders. And once again, my pettiness will be coming out. I am nowhere near going to root or even pick Detroit, because Detroit is part of the reason my gang green is home. But for the purposes of this game, there's no way in hell that Green Bay has come all this way and they're going to lose to Detroit at home with everything on the line. I don't think so. Green Bay, money line, Green Bay with the spread. Green Bay all the way.
Unlike you, I am 100% going to be rooting for Detroit. I like the effort they've given out. I like how they've exploded on the scene pretty much. But pretty much everything you said makes sense to me. It would be absolutely insane to think that Aaron Rodgers and these Packers came all the way back to get stopped by Goff.
Thank you.
I just can't see it. Not Jared Goff. I just can't see it. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to go with the Packers. I'm probably not going to bet this game because, like I said, I've realized over betting and fantasy that rooting for a team never works out well for you. For me, I know it works differently for you, but I try to take all my biases out. This one game in particular, I will definitely be biased because I don't like Green Bay and I like what Detroit's doing. So I'm probably just not going to bet it, just because I don't want to feel like I won when I also feel like I lost.
I know why you're continuing on the Detroit bandwagon to a certain degree, because I'm going to give total kudos to you, because you said weeks ago that looking ahead, you felt that out of all the teams that was in that bunch, that you felt Detroit was actually going to get to the playoffs. You felt that Detroit was going to be able to sustain. And I was like, just the lower averages. Nah, that ain't going to happen. And I was wrong. You're a sly little devil. Don't think I didn't notice.
Don't worry, I'm going to start running victory laps if Detroit actually makes the playoffs.
And I'm going to record that shit. Sorry.
That's all right. I'm used to you. I'll bleep it out. All right. The game I left for last is because maybe I shouldn't have left it last. Maybe we should have did it earlier. But obviously there's serious ramifications beyond a game of football with it. And that is the New England Patriots going to Buffalo to face the Bills. New England still has a chance at the playoffs. Buffalo has seeding things to deal with. Obviously, they have bigger things to deal with that. Do you have any take on this game?
First and foremost, I really don't usually like this saying because sometimes it rings hollow. I mean, especially like just things that I've dealt with recently with loss, but just not a loss, but thoughts and prayers to the family of Damar Hamlin of the Buffalo Bills, the safety that pretty much had to have CPR administered to him on the field. There's no way I could ever like even fathom something like that actually happening on the screen on a national televised game, pretty much a standalone game. Never mind being the fact that it's somebody that you see every day, you work with every day. You know that, I mean, everybody knows the dangers of playing football, but in nobody's wildest dreams they would ever think that would happen. So, like, not only thoughts and prayers to the family of Damar Hamlin, just thoughts and prayers to both teams that was in that situation, both Cincinnati and Buffalo, and for them to attempt to come on the field to play a game that, yeah, playoff wise normally would be huge, but in the big picture of life really means nothing, especially to the ones that are directly affected. I want to try not to be as bombastic about this because really I just want to be sensitive about just everything concerning this. So, I mean, I know I'm not going to put any type of money down on this, and this kind of explains why I was saying about, like, I don't even know if I'm going to really going to do any gambling myself this week, just out of respect for that situation. But for the purposes of trying to analyze what we do here, matter of fact, not even analyze, like just like straight off from my heart, like Buffalo, like y'all already know, like I've been champion Bills Mafia for a lot of these weeks. But even more so now, they always say, even West Side Gun had something like pray for Paris. Well, I pray for Buffalo Bills as a team, as an organization, and just the city itself, and especially Damar Hamlin himself. And those are my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. Honestly, I think you said it well enough that I don't really have to add too much to it. Yeah, I think everybody in the whole nation is going to be rooting for Buffalo. All right. I think it's time to wrap it up. Take us out.
We've had a super edition of Hidden Gems Football. I don't know how super is going to end up, but we have a super duper edition of Hidden Gems Football. So yeah, I'm what you call it. Hidden Gems Football is a part of the 19 Media Group. Have a great week. Stay well and goodbye.
And listen to Hidden Gems Golf. The intro is amazing. I don't even know if the content in the middle is nice, but the intro and the outro, pretty good. All right. Bye-bye. Take care.
This is a 19 Media Group presentation.
You got your notes ready? All right.
Trusty ass notes.